You know, right there at the beginning of the September, I kind of thought we were getting close to having enough money won in the steer open to make my first steer up national finals, and that was kind of the main goal for the year. And the first 2 weeks of September, I mean, we made the drive to Big Timber, Montana that adds 500 twice from Ellensburg and Lewiston, knowing that it wasn't going to pay a lot, but it might make a big difference there at the end. And you know, I think it paid $503 one week and $483 the other week, and you know, without that, I wouldn't have made the finals. We showed up over there at Pendleton, and I was just plumb excited to finish out the season. I bought my card in 2016 and had made the short round and placed an average at Pendleton every year since I bought my card. So I thought that'd be a good place to kind of get on a roll, and I ended up not making the short round for the first time this year, and ended up going to Abilene and Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and actually placed one out of the money 6 times that week. We went from 1,300 out to 13,800 out. So the last week we actually started in Amarillo, and because they had steer open too, and I ended up winning 3rd in the calf open there, and flew to Salinas and made a good run on the first one. And so then I went to flying around. We decided we were going to try it till the bitter end, and flew to Stephenville and Omaha, and then back out to Salinas. And we knew if we could make it to Sunday at Salinas and have a chance for the big money, we'd have a pretty good chance to get there. Down to San Bernardino, and you know, needed to win 7th or better to make the finals, and actually was 1 out of the money again, 1/9 down there. And it just seemed like the story kept kind of building on our final 4th quarter ventures. So first thing I did is call my brother and, you know, see what the plan was now. He knew that I had entered Cumberland, Maine, and he already had the game plan set up. He'd called Ty Commodurus, the guy that helped me the last couple months, and told him to come pick him up, and the 3 of us were gonna head up there. When he was 1,300 out going to Pendleton, I've been up there with him at Pendleton. He's done great, and you know, so we're confident about it. And then when it didn't turn out that way, and then we got through Salinas, and my wife and I had actually gone up there and seen him at Salinas and stuff, and we were gonna go back Sunday, but he was so in and out we weren't really getting to hang out, so we stayed at the house, watched it on the TV, and when he ended up 2nd, we were like, holy, you know, we got a chance. And then he was gonna fly to San Bernardino, same deal. We're sitting there, I pull it up on the Cowboy Channel and we're watching, and then our power goes out, so we're out there, I'm scrambling, we're watching on my phone, and he didn't pull it off of San Bernardino, and so I'm like, holy cow, and we're going to Cumberland, Maine. So I looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to Cumberland too.
One day we were just driving down the road, and Taylor called us and said they needed help, and Nathan, he didn't really want to drive, and so I said, heck, I'll do it. And about 3 weeks later, I got in the rig with him, and off we went. So I've known Lane for 3 hours now, and we're about to drive 3,400 miles. We started in Salinas. I drove down to pick up Lane. We got Taylor, and from then on, we never shut our truck off. And we stopped for fuel and food and let the horses out twice. And we drove it straight through till we got to Cumberland.
Honestly, my role was just, I was along for the ride. You know, he's one of the most determined people I've ever met, and he's been that way since he was 2 years old, you know, or growing up. And so I was so happy to be along for the ride, and it would have been great if we didn't have to go to Cumberland, and he'd have done good at San Bernardino, but the way it turned out, I'm so glad he didn't do any good at San Bernardino, because going to Maine and going with him and Ty, it was a trip I will never forget, and I would do it all again tomorrow, and it was a blast. I know pulling in there for me is the first time I'd ever seen an oxen pull or a buggy race in person. It was cool. We, you know, went to the tie time and got to tie the calves, and they had the sheets from the week before. And the funny part is the calf I ran the first night, we actually told them to cut off. It was calf number 9, and the calf had ducked into the head box the weekend before. And so we could designate 2 or 3 extras, and we put that one as one of the extras. Well, the secretary thought we wrote 4 down instead of 9. So the first night I actually draw the calf that had ducked into the head box the week before. I looked at Ty and my brother, and we were all sure happy that we drove it and had our horse for a situation like that. I'm sure glad we drove it, and I think these guys would agree with me that if it was the same situation tomorrow, we'd hop in the truck and drive it all over again. I think I had to win third or better that night, or could win maybe fourth both nights to get it done. And I ended up winning the rodeo that first night, and kind of made it fun the rest of the trip. We got to go eat some lobster, and we stuck around. I was entered the next night. I was 15th. I figured, heck, if I win first the next night, I can get up to 14th. So we're already there, and we got to kind of have a little mini vacation and really enjoy it after that.
All three of us met at the mouth of the box, and when Taylor threw his hands up in the air, we knew it was done.
It was just a cool experience to be up there, and you know, pulling into a rodeo and not knowing anybody up there, because the normal rodeo guys weren't up there at the time, and was different. But you know, after the first day, everybody kind of knew what was going on, and get to talking to everybody. And you know, there's some great cowboys up there, and it just shows that the Western way life is worldwide. After my first national finals in 2019, I was gonna buy the very first calf I ran out here, and I ended up not buying him for whichever reason. And so I told myself after that, if there's any cool situations that come up or calves that would be meaningful to have, I'd go ahead and buy them. And so after that second night in Cumberland, I went to the stock contractor, Dylan Murphy, and ended up buying the 2 calves that I that I ran up there.
What a memory, what a story to tell, and that I'll tell my kids and grandkids. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's what it's all about. And we're going to be able to tell that story, and that's what's so fun, right? The Wayne Brooks, when he's always announcing, says, you know, the money spends and the buckles fade and tarnish and this and that, but it's the memories that last a lifetime. And
whenever I called Lane, that was the first person I talked to try to kind of figure out what our game plan was going to be, and that he had already come up with the plan and what we were going to do, and it wasn't a question whether or not we were going to drive or fly to Cumberland, Maine. That to me is the epitome of we live it every day.